He told everyone I was off limits. But rules don't matter when a man finds you crying alone in the dark. The moment he stepped into that office and saw my tears, everything he'd been fighting to hide broke. This is the story of the night the most dangerous man I know forgot the rules he made because of me. The marble floors of Salvatore Industries gleamed under the fluorescent lights, so polished I could see my reflection in them. Everything about this building screamed wealth and power, from the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city to the armed security at every exit. This wasn't just a company. Everyone knew that. It was a front for something darker, something dangerous, and I needed this job desperately enough not to care. Miss Rossi. His voice cut through the silence like a blade. I straightened in my chair outside his office, my heart hammering against my ribs. Luca Salvatore stood in his doorway, all 6'3" of him wrapped in a charcoal suit that probably cost more than my rent. Dark hair, darker eyes, and a jaw so sharp it could draw blood. He was beautiful in the way a loaded gun was beautiful, lethal and mesmerizing. "Yes, sir?" I managed, hating how breathless I sounded. "Inside. Now." I gathered my tablet and followed him into his office, my heels clicking nervously against the floor. The door closed behind us with a heavy finality that made my stomach flip. Floor-to-ceiling windows dominated one wall, offering a view of the city that made me feel small. His desk was massive, dark wood that matched the dangerous energy radiating from him. He didn't sit. Instead, he moved to stand in front of his desk, arms crossed, studying me with an intensity that made my skin burn. "Do you know why you're here, Isabella?" The way he said my name, slow, deliberate, like he was tasting it, sent shivers down my spine. "For the assistant position, sir." "And do you know what that means?" He took a step closer, then another. "What working for me requires?" I swallowed hard. Discretion, loyalty, efficiency. More than that. He was close enough now that I could smell his cologne, something expensive and dark that made my head swim. "It means you follow my rules without question. It means you understand that everything you see, everything you hear, stays within these walls. It means you don't get involved in things that don't concern you." "I understand." His eyes narrowed, searching my face for something. "There's one rule that matters more than all the others." My breath caught as he moved even closer, invading my space completely. I had to tilt my head back to meet his gaze, and the heat in those dark eyes made my knees weak. "You are off limits," he said, his voice dropping to something rough and dangerous. "To me, to everyone who works here. You don't speak to anyone without my permission. You don't go anywhere in this building alone. And you sure as hell don't let any man in this place think they have a chance with you." His jaw clenched, a muscle ticking beneath the skin. "Is that clear?" "Yes, sir." But even as I said it, I noticed the way his eyes dropped to my mouth, the way his hands flexed at his sides like he was fighting the urge to reach for me. The tension between us was so thick I could barely breathe through it. "Good." He stepped back abruptly, putting distance between us like he needed it. "You start tomorrow. 7 a.m. sharp. Don't be late." "I won't." I turned to leave, my legs shaking, but his voice stopped me at the door. "Isabella." I looked back. His expression was hard, controlled, but something burned in his eyes that made my heart race. "That rule?" he said quietly. "It's for your protection. Remember that." The first week was hell. Not because the work was difficult. I'd handled worse. But because of him. Luca was everywhere. And nowhere. All at once. I'd feel his eyes on me across the office, burning into my back. But when I turned around, he'd be focused on his computer or speaking in rapid Italian into his phone. He never smiled, never laughed, but I caught glimpses of something softer when he thought no one was watching. The other employees kept their distance from me. Word had spread quickly. The boss's new assistant is untouchable. I ate lunch alone, worked alone, existed in a bubble of isolation that should have been lonely, but instead felt suffocating because of one man's attention. He was always watching. Coffee. He'd bark from his office, and I'd bring it exactly how he liked it. Black, no sugar, hot enough to burn. Files. He'd demand, and I'd have them on his desk before he finished the sentence. But sometimes, when I'd set his coffee down, his fingers would brush mine. Brief, accidental, electric. And he'd pull back like I'd burned him, jaw tight, eyes flashing with something he quickly buried. "You're doing well," he said one afternoon, not looking up from his paperwork. I paused in the doorway of his office, shocked. It was the first compliment he'd given me. "Thank you, sir." "Stop calling me sir." His eyes lifted to mine, dark and intense. "When we're alone, use my name." "Luca," I tested, and watched something flicker across his face. "Better." His gaze held mine for a beat too long. "You can go." But I couldn't move. The way he was looking at me, like he wanted to say something else, do something else, rooted me to the spot. "Isabella." My name was a warning. "Leave. Now." I left, but I felt his eyes on me all the way to my desk. The incident happened 2 weeks in. I'd been organizing files in the storage room when I heard raised voices from Luca's office. Male voices, angry and threatening. My heart raced as I moved closer to the door, knowing I shouldn't eavesdrop but unable to stop myself. "You're making a mistake, Salvatore." "The only mistake," Luca's voice was ice, "is you walking into my building thinking you can threaten me." "We're not threatening. We're offering a partnership." "I don't partner with men who deal in things that disgust me." A pause. Then laughter, cold and cruel. "Everyone has a price. Even you. Get out." Luca's voice dropped to something lethal. "And if you come back, you won't walk out." I should have moved away from the door. Should have gone back to my desk. But I was frozen, heart pounding, when the door suddenly swung open. 3 men in expensive suits strode out, their eyes landing on me with predatory interest. The one in front smiled, and it made my skin crawl. "Well, well, what do we have here?" Before I could respond, Luca was there. He moved faster than I'd ever seen him move, stepping between me and the men with his body acting as a shield. His hand found my waist, pulling me slightly behind him, and the possessiveness of the gesture made my breath catch. "Walk away," Luca said quietly. "Right now." The men exchanged glances, smirking. "Off limits, huh?" the leader said, eyes still on me. "Interesting rule, Salvatore. Very interesting. I won't tell you again." Something in Luca's voice made them move. They walked toward the elevator, but not before the leader looked back at me one more time, his smile promising trouble. The elevator doors closed. Luca's hand was still on my waist, his body still shielding mine. I could feel the tension radiating from him, the barely controlled violence humming beneath his skin. "Luca, don't." His voice was rough. "Don't say anything right now." His hand slid from my waist, but he didn't step back immediately. Instead, he turned to look down at me, and the expression on his face made my heart stop. Raw, vulnerable, furious. "You shouldn't have been standing there," he said. "I'm sorry. I heard voices and you came closer?" His jaw clenched. "Do you have any idea how dangerous that was? If I hadn't been here." "But you were." His eyes darkened. "Isabella, you protected me," I said softly, without even thinking about it. He stared at me for a long moment, something warring in his expression. Then he stepped back abruptly, putting distance between us again. "Get back to work." "Luca. Now, Isabella." I went, but I couldn't shake the feeling of his hand on my waist. The way he'd moved to shield me without hesitation. The look in his eyes that said everything his mouth refused to admit. That night I stayed late finishing reports. The office was empty, quiet except for the hum of computers and the distant sound of traffic below. Luca's office light was still on. It was always on, and I wondered if the man ever slept. I was gathering my things when his door opened. He stood there in his shirt sleeves, tie loosened, looking more human than I'd ever seen him. "You're still here?" "Just finishing up." He moved closer, and I noticed the exhaustion in his eyes, the tension in his shoulders. For all his power and control, he looked tired. "You should go home," he said, but he didn't sound convincing. "So should you." A ghost of a smile crossed his lips. "I don't sleep much." "Why not?" The question was too personal. I knew it the moment it left my mouth. But instead of shutting me down, he leaned against my desk, close enough that I could see the dark stubble on his jaw, the small scar above his left eyebrow. "Nightmares," he admitted quietly. "Old ghosts." My heart ached for him. "Luca." "Don't," he said, but there was no heat in it. "Don't look at me like that, Isabella. Like you want to fix me." "I don't want to fix you. I hesitated. "I see you." His eyes locked on mine, and the intensity there stole my breath. "That's the problem," he said roughly. "You see too much." He pushed off the desk, creating distance again, but his hand reached out, hesitated, then brushed a strand of hair from my face. The gesture was so gentle, so at odds with everything else about him, that I couldn't move. "Go home," he whispered. "Please. Will you?" "Eventually." I wanted to argue, wanted to stay, wanted to understand this man who declared me off limits, but looked at me like I was the only thing in the world worth looking at. "Good night, Luca." "Good night, Isabella." I left, but I felt his eyes on me until the elevator doors closed. And as I rode down to the lobby, I knew with absolute certainty that whatever rule he'd made about me being off limits, it was already broken. He just hadn't admitted it yet. The following weeks blurred together in a haze of stolen glances and careful distance. Luca became a study in contradictions, cold and commanding in meetings, but his eyes would soften when they landed on me. He'd bark orders at everyone else, but when he asked me for something, his voice would gentle just slightly. Enough that I noticed. Enough that others noticed too. "The boss has a favorite," Gia from accounting whispered one day in the break room. She smiled when she said it. Not cruel, but knowing. "Never thought I'd see the day." "He treats everyone fairly," I deflected, pouring my coffee with hands that weren't quite steady. "Sure, honey, that's why he watches you like you're the only person in the room." She patted my shoulder. "Just be careful. Men like Luca Salvatore, they don't do soft. And when they break, everyone around them gets cut by the pieces." Her warning stayed with me all day. That afternoon, everything changed. I was delivering contracts to Luca's office when I heard the voices. Not like before. These were different. Harder. More dangerous. Through the crack in the door, I saw 4 men surrounding Luca's desk, and the energy in the room was explosive. "You've been encroaching on our territory, Salvatore." "Your territory." Luca's voice was deceptively calm. "I was operating in those districts before you were out of diapers, Ricci." "Times change. Pay the tribute. Or what?" Luca stood slowly, and even from where I stood, I could feel the menace radiating from him. "You'll do what exactly? Come into my building, make threats, and expect me to bow?" I should have left. Should have backed away and pretended I'd seen nothing. But my hand slipped, and the door swung open with a loud creak. Every head turned toward me. Time seemed to slow. I saw the calculation in the visitors' eyes, the way they assessed me as a target. a weakness. Saw one of them reach inside his jacket. And then Luca moved. He was around the desk in a heartbeat, his body between me and the men, before I could even process what was happening. One hand shot out to grip my arm, pulling me behind him, while the other stayed free, ready for violence. "Touch her," Luca said, voice deadly quiet, "and you'll die in this office." The man who'd been reaching for his weapon froze. "Interesting," Ricci said, eyes gleaming. "You said she was off limits, but this is protection, Salvatore. This is possession. This is me telling you to leave while you still can." The tension was suffocating. I could feel Luca's muscles coiled tight, ready to strike. Could feel the barely restrained violence vibrating through him. Ricci smiled slowly. "We'll be in touch." They left, but the threat hung in the air long after they were gone. Luca didn't move, didn't release me, just stood there with his hand still gripping my arm and his body still shielding mine. "Luca," I whispered. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to." "Are you hurt?" His voice was rough, strained. "No, I'm fine, but—" He spun to face me, and the look in his eyes stole my breath. Fear. Raw, genuine fear. Not for himself. For me. "Do you understand what you just walked into?" His hands came up to grip my shoulders, holding me in place. "Do you have any idea what men like that would do to someone I—" He stopped himself, jaw clenching. "To someone who works for me? But you stopped them." "I won't always be here to stop them." The words burst out of him, and I realized his hands were shaking. "Jesus, Isabella, you can't. You have to be more careful." "I will. I promise." He stared at me for a long moment, and then, so carefully, like I might shatter, he pulled me against his chest. Just for a second. Just long enough for me to feel his heart hammering, to smell the cologne and gunpowder and something uniquely him. Then he released me and stepped back, his mask sliding into place again. "Go home early today. I'll have someone follow you. Don't argue." "Luca. Please." The word was quiet, almost broken. "Just, please." So I left, but I glanced back at the door and saw him standing there, hands clenched at his sides, watching me go like it physically hurt him. The next morning, I arrived to find his office in chaos. Papers everywhere, a glass shattered on the floor, and Luca standing at the window with his back to the door. Luca? Are you all right?" I didn't sleep. His voice was flat. I set my bag down and began picking up papers, righting the chair that had been knocked over. He didn't move, just kept staring out at the city. "Talk to me," I said softly. "About what?" "About how I spent all night thinking about every way those men could hurt you because you walked through the wrong door at the wrong time." He turned, and the exhaustion on his face made my heart ache. "About how I've put a target on your back just by keeping you close." "You didn't do anything wrong?" "I did everything wrong." He moved closer, and I saw the cracks in his armor widening. "I should have fired you the first day. The moment I looked at you and felt something I haven't felt in years. Should have sent you away before." "Before what?" His eyes met mine, and the vulnerability there took my breath away. "Before I started caring whether you lived or died." The words hung between us, heavy with meaning. I took a step toward him, and he immediately stepped back, holding up a hand. "Don't," he said roughly. "Don't come closer, Isabella. I'm barely holding on as it is. Maybe you should stop holding on." "You don't know what you're asking." "Then tell me." I moved closer despite his warning. "Tell me why you declared me off limits. Tell me why you watch me like I'm the only person who exists. Tell me why you shake when you hold me." "Because you terrify me." The words exploded from him. "Because every person I've ever cared about has died or betrayed me, and you—" He ran a hand through his hair, destroying its perfect style. "You walk in here with your warmth, and your kindness and your goddamn smile. And suddenly I'm lying awake at night thinking about what it would be like to hear you laugh, to make you happy, to keep you safe. My heart hammered against my ribs. Luca, I can't do soft, Isabella. I don't know how. I'm a violent man who does violent things, and you deserve better than that. Better than me. What if I don't want better? I whispered. What if I want you? He stared at me like I'd struck him. Then, slowly, he closed the distance between us. His hand came up to cup my face, thumb brushing my cheekbone with devastating gentleness. Then you're as crazy as I am, he murmured. Something shifted after that. He didn't touch me again. Not like that. But the wall between us had cracks now. Visible, widening cracks. He started doing small things that undid me. Keeping coffee ready at my desk in the mornings, exactly how I liked it. Sending me home early when I looked tired. Positioning himself between me and any man who entered the room, even his own men. Boss, his second-in-command, Tomas, said one afternoon. You said she was off limits. She is. Then why are you watching her like she's yours? I pretended not to hear from where I stood across the office, but I felt Luca's eyes on me. Because she is mine, he said quietly. I just haven't told her yet. My hands trembled as I filed papers, heart racing. That evening, everyone else had gone home. I was finishing up when Luca emerged from his office, jacket slung over his shoulder, looking more relaxed than I'd ever seen him. Come with me, he said. Where? Somewhere. That isn't this office. I should have said no. Should have maintained the professional distance we were both clinging to by our fingernails. But I grabbed my coat and followed him. He drove us to a quiet spot overlooking the city, the lights spreading out below like stars. We sat on the hood of his car in silence for a while, and for once, the quiet wasn't uncomfortable. I grew up in this city, he said finally. Fought for every inch of territory I own. Built an empire on blood and fear and ruthlessness. Why are you telling me this? Because I want you to understand what you're getting involved with. He turned to look at me, and in the moonlight he looked younger, vulnerable. I want you to know what I am before. Before what? Before I stop being able to let you go. My breath caught. And if I don't want you to let me go? His jaw clenched. Isabella. I see you, Luca. Not the monster you think you are. I see the man who works 18-hour days to protect his people. Who hasn't slept in weeks because he's worried about keeping everyone safe. Who looks at me like I'm precious even while trying to convince yourself I'm not. You are precious, he said roughly. That's the problem. You're soft in a world that devours soft things, and You're the man who shields me with his body without thinking. Who drives me home to make sure I'm safe. Who looks exhausted because you care too much, not too little. He closed his eyes. You don't know what you do to me. Then show me. His eyes opened, dark and burning with intensity. If I start, he whispered, leaning closer, I won't be able to stop. You understand that? I'm counting on it. His hand came up to cup my face, and I saw him war with himself. Saw the moment he almost gave in, almost closed the distance between us. Our lips were inches apart, and I could feel his breath on my skin. Then his phone buzzed. He pulled back with a curse, checking the message, and his expression hardened. I have to go. Emergency. Is it dangerous? It's always dangerous. He helped me down from the car, hands lingering on my waist. I'll have someone take you home. Luca, I'll be fine. He pressed a kiss to my forehead, quick, gentle, devastating. I'll be fine because I have something to come back to now. He left, and I stood there with my heart racing and my lips still tingling from a kiss that hadn't happened. The wall between us was cracking. Soon it would shatter completely. The letter arrived on a Wednesday morning, sliding under my apartment door like a knife between ribs. Final notice: eviction proceedings. I stared at it with hands that wouldn't stop shaking. 30 days. I had 30 days to come up with 3 months back rent, or I'd lose the only place I'd called home since moving to this city. My mother's medical bills had drained everything, every penny I'd managed to save, and now I couldn't breathe. The walls of my tiny apartment pressed in, crushing me. I'd been so careful, so disciplined, working overtime and skipping meals. But it wasn't enough. It was never enough. I made it to work on autopilot, my chest tight and my eyes burning. Don't cry, not here, not where anyone could see. I plastered on a smile and went through the motions, filing, answering calls, pretending my world wasn't disintegrating. Isabella. Luca's voice cut through my spiraling thoughts. My office. I gathered my tablet and walked in, praying he wouldn't look too closely. Wouldn't see the cracks spreading across my carefully maintained facade. Close the door. I did, and when I turned back, he was studying me with those dark, perceptive eyes that saw too much. Are you all right? I'm fine. The lie tasted bitter. His jaw tightened. Don't do that. Don't lie to me. I said I'm fine. My voice came out sharper than intended, and I saw him flinch. What did you need? For a moment, I thought he'd push. Thought he'd cross the room and force me to tell him what was wrong. But instead, he just handed me a stack of contracts. These need to be reviewed by end of day. Of course. I took them and fled, feeling his eyes burning into my back. I made it through the day by sheer willpower, but by evening, I was unraveling. Everyone had gone home except Luca. His light was always on, burning late into the night. I told myself I'd just grab one more file from his office, just finish one more task. Then I could leave and fall apart in private. His office was empty when I slipped inside, dark except for the city lights filtering through the floor-to-ceiling windows. The contracts I needed were on his desk, and I moved to grab them with hands that trembled. And then, suddenly, it was all too much. The weight of it crashed over me. The eviction notice, my mother's hospital bills, the crushing loneliness of trying to survive in this city alone. I sank into Luca's chair, buried my face in my hands, and broke. Sobs tore from my chest, harsh and ugly. I couldn't stop them. Couldn't hold back the wave of despair that had been building for weeks. I cried for my mother, weak and sick in a hospital bed. Cried for the life I'd imagined that kept slipping further away. Cried because I was so tired of being strong, of pretending I was fine when I was drowning. I didn't hear the door open. Didn't hear footsteps crossing the office. Didn't know he was there until his voice, rough and devastated, cut through my tears. Isabella. My head snapped up. Luca stood 3 feet away, frozen in place, staring at me like I'd shattered something inside him. His jacket was gone, his tie loosened, and the look on his face, raw anguish mixed with fierce protectiveness, made my breath catch. I'm sorry, I choked out, trying to stand, to leave. I shouldn't be in here. I just needed... Don't. He moved then, closing the distance in 2 long strides. Don't apologize. Don't run. Luca. And then he was kneeling in front of me. This man. This dangerous, powerful man who commanded empires and inspired fear, knelt at my feet and looked up at me with something breaking in his eyes. Tell me, he said roughly. Tell me what happened. It's nothing. I'm fine. You're crying alone in my office at 9 p.m. His hands came up to rest on my knees, the touch gentle but grounding. That's not fine, Isabella. That's not even close to fine. Fresh tears spilled down my cheeks. I'm getting evicted. 3 months behind on rent because my mother's in the hospital and the bills just keep coming. I've been working so hard, trying to manage, but My voice broke. I'm failing. At everything. Jesus Christ. The words were barely a whisper. His hands tightened on my knees, and when he looked up at me again, his eyes were blazing. Why didn't you tell me? Because it's not your problem. Like hell it isn't. He stood abruptly, pacing away, then back, then away again, like he couldn't stand still. You're crying in my office because you can't afford rent and you think that's not my problem? Luca, I could have helped. Could have. Fuck. He ran both hands through his hair. How much do you need? No. I stood, wiping my eyes. No, I'm not taking your money. Why the hell not? Because I don't want to owe you. You wouldn't owe me anything. His voice rose, echoing off the walls. You'd be letting me take care of you, which is what I've been dying to do since the moment you walked into this building. The confession hung between us, raw and honest. You declared me off limits, I said quietly. I know. You said I couldn't get close to you. I know. He moved toward me again, slower this time. I know what I said, Isabella. I know every rule I made and every wall I built. And you've destroyed every single one. He was close enough now that I could see the exhaustion in his eyes, the stubble on his jaw, the slight tremor in his hands as he reached for me. I should have stayed away, he whispered, his palm cupping my cheek. Should have kept my distance. Should have done 1,000 things differently. But I can't. I can't stay away from you anymore. Why? The word came out broken. Because you see me. His thumb brushed away a tear. You look at me. This violent, dangerous man. And somehow you see something worth caring about. You make me want to be better. To be the man you think I am. You already are that man. He laughed, but there was no humor in it. I'm really not, Isabella. I've done terrible things. Hurt people. Made choices that keep me awake at night. And you think that makes you a monster? Doesn't it? I reached up, covering his hand with mine. Monsters don't kneel in front of crying girls and look destroyed by their tears. Monsters don't lose sleep worrying about keeping their people safe. Monsters don't. My voice caught. Monsters don't look at someone like me the way you do. His eyes closed. When they opened again, they were molten. The way I look at you, he said roughly, is like you're mine. Like you've been mine since the moment I saw you. Like I'd burn this entire city down before I let anyone hurt you. My breath caught. Luca, I declared you off limits because I knew. His other hand came up to frame my face. I knew that if I let myself want you, nothing else would matter. Not my empire, not my reputation, not the rules I've built my entire life around, just you. Is that such a terrible thing? It's terrifying. He leaned his forehead against mine, and I felt him tremble. You're my weakness, Isabella. The one thing that could bring me to my knees. And in my world, weakness gets you killed. Then we'll be careful. I don't want to be careful. The words were almost a growl. I want to take you home and keep you there where no one can touch you. Want to pay every goddamn bill that's making you cry and make sure you never have to worry again. Want to... What? I whispered. What else do you want? His eyes locked on mine, dark and burning with an intensity that stole my breath. I want to kiss you until you forget every rule I ever made. Want to hear my name on your lips when you fall apart. Want to wake up with you in my bed and know that you're safe because you're with me. His voice dropped to something rough and desperate. I want everything, Isabella. Every piece of you. And that's exactly why I tried to stay away. I don't want you to stay away. You should. But even as he said it, his thumb brushed my lower lip. You should run from me as fast as you can. I'm not running. Isabella, I'm not running, Luca. I'm standing right here, telling you that I want this too. Want you, even though you're dangerous and stubborn and you think you're protecting me by pushing me away. His jaw clenched. I am protecting you. From what? The only thing that scares me is the thought of you walking away because you're too afraid to let yourself feel something. That hit home. I saw it in his eyes, the direct hit that broke through his last defenses. I'm not afraid of feeling something, he said quietly. I'm afraid of how much I already feel. I'm afraid that if something happened to you because of me, because someone wanted to hurt me and used you to do it. His voice cracked. That would destroy me, Isabella. Completely. I reached up, threading my fingers through his hair and felt him shudder at the touch. Then protect me, I whispered. Stop trying to push me away and just protect me. For a long moment we stood there, foreheads pressed together, breathing the same air. I felt the exact second he gave in, felt it in the way his hands tightened on my face, in the rough exhale that escaped him. I can't promise I'll be good at this, he murmured. Can't promise I won't be possessive and controlling and too protective. I'm not asking you to be good at it. I'm asking you to try. His eyes searched mine. You're sure? Because if we, there's no going back, Isabella. I don't do casual. Don't do halfway. Neither do I. Something in him broke then, some final wall crumbling to dust. He pulled me against him, holding me so tight I could barely breathe, his face buried in my hair. You were never off limits, he said, roughly against my temple. You were always mine. I wasn't ready to admit how much I needed you to be. I held him back just as tightly, feeling his heart hammering against mine. Your rent, he said after a moment. Your mother's bills. Let me help, please. Not because you owe me anything, but because He pulled back to look at me. Because taking care of you is the only thing that's made sense to me in years. Fresh tears spilled down my cheeks, but these were different. Lighter. Okay, I whispered. Okay? Okay. I smiled through my tears. But I'm paying you back. Eventually. He laughed. Actually laughed. And the sound was beautiful. We'll argue about that later. Then his expression shifted, became serious again. His thumb traced my cheekbone, wiping away tears with devastating gentleness. I should take you home, he said quietly. I don't want to go home. Isabella? Stay with me, just for tonight. I don't want to be alone. I saw the war in his eyes, the desire fighting with control. Then slowly he nodded. Just to hold you, he said firmly. Just to make sure you're okay. Just to hold me, I agreed. We both knew it was a lie, but we told it anyway. Luca drove me home in silence, one hand on the wheel and the other refusing to let go of mine. His thumb traced circles on my palm, small, absent movements that made my heart race. The city lights blurred past the windows, but all I could focus on was him. The tension in his jaw, the way his grip tightened every time we stopped at a red light, like he was afraid I might disappear. When we pulled up to my building, he killed the engine and just stared at the shabby exterior. Paint peeling, broken security gate, flickering street lamp casting shadows that looked threatening even from inside the car. You live here? His voice was quiet. Too quiet. It's not that bad. Isabella. He turned to look at me, and the fury in his eyes made me shrink back. This neighborhood, Jesus Christ, you walk through here alone at night? I'm careful. Careful. He laughed, but there was no humor in it. There are drug deals happening on that corner right now. The building has no security. The locks on these doors are practically an invitation. I couldn't afford anything else. His hands tightened on the steering wheel. How long? How long have you been living here? 6 months. 6 months. He closed his eyes, jaw clenching. 6 months you've been walking through this neighborhood, working late in my office, and I should have known. Should have asked. Should have. Luca, it's fine. It's not fine. The words exploded from him. Nothing about this is fine. You're. He stopped himself, breathing hard. You're not staying here anymore. Excuse me? You heard me. He got out of the car, came around to my side, and opened my door. Pack a bag. Essentials. You're coming home with me tonight, and tomorrow we're finding you somewhere safe. You can't just watch me. He held out his hand, and despite my frustration, I took it. I won't apologize for this, Isabella. Won't apologize for wanting you somewhere I know you're protected. We climbed the 3 flights to my apartment. The elevator had been broken for weeks, and I felt his anger building with every step. When I unlocked my door and let him in, he stood in the tiny space and just looked around. At the kitchen that was barely more than a hot plate and mini fridge. At the couch that doubled as my bed. At the single window with bars on it that overlooked the alley. This is where you've been living. It wasn't a question. It's not that bad. It's clean, and it's a shoebox in a war zone. He turned to me, and the emotion in his eyes was almost too much to bear. And I've been working you overtime, keeping you late, while you came back here to this every night. I chose to work late, because you needed the money. Money to keep this place, and pay for your mother's care. Money you wouldn't have needed if I'd just... He ran both hands through his hair, destroying its perfect style. If I'd pulled my head out of my ass and actually looked at you, really looked. You were protecting yourself. I was being a coward. He moved closer and his hands came up to frame my face. And you paid the price for it. Luca, no more. His voice was fierce. No more of this. No more struggling alone. No more pretending you're fine when you're not. You let me help, or what? I challenged. His eyes darkened. Or I'll make you. And trust me, Isabella, you don't want to see how stubborn I can be when it comes to protecting what's mine. What's yours? You. The word was simple. Absolute. You're mine now. You agreed to that when you asked me to stop pushing you away. My heart hammered against my ribs. That's very possessive. I warned you I would be. He leaned in closer, his breath warm against my lips. I told you I don't do halfway, that I'd be controlling and too protective. You said you were okay with that. I am, I whispered. I just didn't expect it to feel like this. Like what? Like I can finally breathe. Something in his expression softened. He pressed his forehead to mine, and we stood there in my tiny apartment, holding each other in the dim light. Pack your things, he murmured. Please. Let me take you somewhere safe. So I did. Luca's penthouse was everything I expected and nothing I was prepared for. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the entire city. Sleek, modern furniture that probably cost more than a year of my rent. But what surprised me was how lived-in it felt. Books scattered on the coffee table, a half-empty glass of whiskey on the kitchen counter. Photos on the cusp mantel. Old, faded pictures of people who must have mattered to him once. Guest room is down the hall, he said, setting my bag down. Bathrooms attached. If you need anything. Luca. I turned to face him. You don't have to treat me like a guest. I'm trying to be respectful. I don't want respectful. Not right now. I moved closer and saw his jaw clench. I want you to hold me like you did in your office, like you meant every word you said. Isabella, if I... He stopped, breathing hard. If I touch you right now, I won't be able to stop it just holding you. Good. His eyes flashed dark and dangerous. You don't know what you're asking for. Then show me. For a long moment, he just stared at me. Then, with a muttered curse, he closed the distance between us and kissed me. It wasn't gentle, wasn't soft or careful or any of the things I expected. It was desperate and claiming and full of weeks of denied wanting. His hands tangled in my hair, angling my head exactly how he wanted it, and I melted against him with a sound that might have been his name. When he finally pulled back, we were both breathing hard. "I've wanted to do that," he said roughly, "since the moment I saw you." "Then why did it take so long?" "Because I'm an idiot who thought he could resist you." His thumb traced my lower lip. "But I can't, Isabella. Can't resist you. Can't push you away. Can't pretend I don't want you so badly it's killing me." I kissed him again, pouring everything I couldn't say into it. He groaned against my mouth, his hand sliding down to my waist, pulling me impossibly closer. "Stay," I whispered between kisses. "Don't leave me alone tonight. I'm not going anywhere." He lifted me easily and I wrapped my legs around his waist. "Never letting you go again." He carried me to his bedroom, not the guest room, his, and laid me down on sheets that smelled like him. Then he stretched out beside me, pulling me against his chest, and just held me. "This okay?" he murmured against my hair. "Perfect." We lay there in the darkness, and slowly, I felt him relax. Felt the tension drain from his body as he held me. His hand traced lazy patterns on my back, soothing and possessive at once. "Tell me about her," I said quietly. "Your mother." I felt him tense. "Why?" "Because I want to know you. All of you." He was silent for so long I thought he wouldn't answer. Then, "She died when I was 12. Cancer." His voice was flat, but I heard the pain underneath. "My father. He wasn't a good man. After she was gone, he got worse. Violent. Drunk. I learned early that if you want to survive, you have to be harder than everyone else. Colder. You're not cold. I am. Except with you." His arms tightened around me. "You make me feel things I thought I'd buried years ago." I tilted my head back to look at him. In the moonlight streaming through the windows, he looked younger. Vulnerable. "Tell me about this," I said, tracing a scar above his eyebrow. "Bar. Fight when I was 16. Tried to protect a girl from a man twice my size. And this?" I touched another scar on his collarbone, visible above his unbuttoned shirt. "Knife fight. 3 years ago." His hand covered mine, pressing it against his chest. "Someone thought they could take my territory. They were wrong." "Do you ever regret it?" I asked quietly. "This life?" "Every day." The admission was raw. "Every time I see what it costs, what it turns people into." He touched my face. "But then you look at me like I'm not a monster, and I think, maybe it was all worth it. Maybe everything I've done, every choice I've made, was leading me to you." My eyes burned with unshed tears. "Luca, I mean it." He pulled me closer. "I'd do it all again. Every terrible thing, if it meant ending up here with you." I kissed him then, soft and slow and full of promise. He responded with a tenderness that broke my heart, his hands cradling my face like I was something precious. When we finally broke apart, he rested his forehead against mine. "Sleep," he whispered. "I'll be right here. You'll stay?" Wild horses couldn't drag me away. So I closed my eyes, safe in his arms, and for the first time in months, maybe years, I slept without fear. I woke to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows and the smell of coffee. For a moment I panicked, not remembering where I was. Then it all came flooding back. The crying, the confession, Luca's kiss. Luca. I found him in the kitchen, already dressed in another perfect suit, pouring coffee into 2 mugs. He looked up when I entered, and the soft smile that crossed his face made my heart skip. "Good morning," he said. "Morning." I felt suddenly shy, wrapped in his t-shirt that I'd borrowed, very aware that my hair was a mess and I had no makeup on. But the way he looked at me, like I was beautiful, perfect, everything, made me feel like a queen. I made coffee. He handed me a mug. And I called someone about your apartment. They'll pack up your things today and move them to storage until we find you something better. Luca, that's too much. It's not nearly enough. He set his mug down and pulled me against him. But it's a start. I leaned into him, breathing in his cologne and warmth. What happens now? Now? His hand traced down my spine. Now I go to work and try very hard not to think about how you look in my shirt. And you. He pressed a kiss to my temple. You take the day off. Rest. Use my credit card and buy whatever you need. I'm not using your credit card. Isabella. Nope. I pulled back to look at him. I appreciate everything you're doing. Really. But I'm still working. Still earning my own way. He looked like he wanted to argue, but something in my expression stopped him. Stubborn, he muttered. You knew that when you decided I was yours. I did. His smile was dark and possessive, and I love it, even when it drives me crazy. Before I could respond, his phone buzzed. Checked it, and his expression hardened. I have to go. Meeting I can't miss. Is it dangerous? They're all dangerous. He kissed me, quick and claiming. Stay here. Don't go anywhere without calling me first. And Isabella? Yeah? Last night. He touched my face. Last night changed everything. You understand that? I nodded, not trusting my voice. Good. One more kiss, then he was gone, leaving me alone in his penthouse with my heart racing and the taste of him still on my lips. I spent the day exploring his space, learning him through his possessions. Found more photos. Him as a boy with kind eyes and a shy smile. Found books on philosophy and poetry that surprised me. Found a drawer full of letters he'd never sent, apologies to people long gone. I was reading one, a letter to his mother, when my phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Isabella Rossi? A man's voice, cold and professional. Yes? This is Dr. Chen from St. Mary's Hospital. I'm calling about your mother. My heart stopped. Is she okay? Her condition has stabilized, but we need to discuss her long-term care options. Are you available to come in today? Yes. Yes, I'll be there in an hour. I hung up and immediately called Luca. He answered on the first ring. Isabella? What's wrong? The hospital called about my mom. I need to go. I'll meet you there. Luca, you don't have to. I'll meet you there, he repeated, firm. And Isabella? Don't argue with me on this. 30 minutes later, I was in the back of a car he'd sent, heading to the hospital. And when I arrived, he was already there, leaning against his car in the parking lot, looking dangerous and beautiful in his perfectly tailored suit. You didn't have to come, I said as I approached. Yes, I did. He pulled me into his arms. You need me, so I'm here. That's how this works now. We walked into the hospital together, his hand firm on my lower back, and I realized something that should have terrified me, but instead felt like coming home. I was falling in love with him, and from the way he held me, possessive and protective and tender, I thought maybe he was falling too. The meeting with Dr. Chen was brutal. My mother needed long-term care, specialized treatment, physical therapy, all things I couldn't afford even with my salary. I sat in the sterile hospital office, nodding as the doctor explained costs and options, feeling the walls close in again, until Luca's hand found mine under the table. What's the total? He asked quietly. Dr. Chen blinked. I'm sorry? Everything she needs. Best care possible. What's it going to cost? Mr. Salvatore, I didn't ask what you think. I asked what it costs. The doctor stammered through a number that made my stomach drop. Luca just nodded. Done. Send the paperwork to my office. I want her moved to a private room by tonight, and I want your best people on her care. Luca, I whispered, horrified. That's too much. He turned to look at me, and the intensity in his eyes silenced any protest. Nothing is too much when it comes to you, he said simply. After the meeting, I followed him into the parking lot in a daze. I can't let you do this, I said. That amount, it's insane. I'll pay you back. I'll work extra hours. Stop. He spun to face me. Just stop, Isabella. But your mother almost died because she couldn't afford proper care. You've been killing yourself trying to keep her alive, and His voice cracked. I've been watching you struggle from across a desk, too much of a coward to do anything about it. So no, you don't get to tell me I can't help. You don't get to carry this alone anymore. Tears spilled down my cheeks. Why are you doing this? Because I'm in love with you. The words hung between us, raw and honest and completely devastating. What? I'm in love with you, he repeated, stepping closer. I've been in love with you since you walked into my office that first day and looked at me like I was just a man, not a monster. Since you smiled at me and made me remember what it felt like to want something besides power and control. I kissed him, cutting off the words, pouring everything I felt into it. He groaned and pulled me against him, his hands tangling in my hair, and I tasted salt. From my tears or his, I couldn't tell. When we broke apart, both breathing hard, he rested his forehead against mine. I love you too, I whispered. I tried not to. Tried to keep my distance, but you— I what? You made it impossible. I touched his face. You're impossible, Luca Salvatore, stubborn and controlling and so determined to protect everyone that you forget to protect yourself. I don't need protecting. Yes, you do. I kissed him again, softer this time. Everyone does. His phone buzzed. He ignored it. It buzzed again, and he cursed under his breath. I have to take this. He pulled it out, and his expression darkened as he read the screen. Fuck. What is it? Ricci. He's moving on one of my warehouses. He was already moving toward his car. I have to go. Then I'm coming with you. Absolutely not. Luca? No, Isabella. He spun to face me. This is the part you don't get to see. The violence and the danger and the ugliness of what I really am. I know what you are. You think you do. His jaw clenched. But you've never seen me. You've never watched me hurt someone. Never seen what I'm capable of when someone threatens what's mine. Then let me see it. Why? The word was almost a shout. Why would you want to see that? Because if I'm going to love you, I need to love all of you. Not just the parts you think are acceptable. He stared at me for a long moment, something warring in his expression. Then, with a muttered curse, he pulled open the passenger door. Get in. But Isabella— He waited until I looked at him. You stay in the car. No matter what. Understood? I nodded, even though we both knew it was a lie. The warehouse was on the edge of the city, surrounded by empty lots and chain-link fences. Luca's men were already there, 6 of them, all armed, all looking grim. And standing in front of the building, smirking, was Ricci with twice that number. Stay here, Luca ordered as he got out of the car. Lock the doors. Don't move. I watched him walk toward the confrontation, his posture relaxed but his hand near his jacket, where I knew he kept a gun. The two groups faced off, and even through the closed car windows I could feel the tension. Ricci said something. Luca responded. And then Ricci laughed and pointed, directly at me. I saw Luca's entire body go rigid, saw him take a step forward, violence rolling off him in waves, saw Ricci's men reach for their weapons. And I knew, with absolute certainty, that if this went bad, people would die. maybe including Luca. So I did the only thing I could think of. I got out of the car. Isabella? Tomas, Luca's second, shouted. Get back! But I was already walking toward them, my heart hammering but my steps steady. Both groups turned to look at me, and I saw the exact moment Luca realized what I'd done. The fury in his eyes should have stopped me. Instead, I walked right up to him and took his hand. I'm here, I said quietly. I'm safe. Don't do this. Isabella, get back to the... I'm not leaving you. I squeezed his hand. Whatever happens, I'm right here. Ricci laughed. So this is what the great Luca Salvatore has become? Taking orders from his little girlfriend? Luca's hand tightened on mine, and I felt the violence coiling in him, ready to explode. But instead of releasing me, instead of pushing me away, he pulled me slightly behind him, shielding me without letting go. Last chance, Ricci, Luca said, his voice deadly calm. Walk away now, or I'll make sure you never walk anywhere again. Bold words from a man who's... 3 things happened at once. Ricci's hand went to his gun. Luca moved faster than I'd ever seen him move, his own weapon appearing in his free hand. And then, sirens. Police sirens getting closer. Ricci cursed. This isn't over, Salvatore. Yes, Luca said quietly. It is. You threatened what's mine. That was your last mistake. Ricci and his men retreated as the sirens got louder. Within seconds, they were gone, leaving just Luca's team and the sound of approaching police, who would turn away before they arrived. They always did. The moment we were alone, Luca holstered his weapon and spun to face me. What the hell were you thinking? His voice was shaking with fury and fear. I told you to stay in the car. He was going to shoot you. So you walked into the line of fire? His hands came up to grip my shoulders. Do you have any idea what could have happened? What he could have done to you? I was scared you'd get hurt. I can handle myself. So can I. We stared at each other, both breathing hard, both furious and terrified, and something else. Something that made my whole body ache. I can't lose you, he said roughly. I can't. Isabella, if something happened to you because of me, I wouldn't survive it. Then don't push me away. Don't try to protect me from who you are. Let me stand beside you. His hands trembled on my shoulders. You don't know what you're asking. Yes, I do. I reached up to touch his face. I'm asking you to trust me, to let me love you, all of you, even the dark parts you think I can't handle. The dark parts are dangerous. I don't care. You should. Well, I don't. I pulled him down until our foreheads touched. I'm not afraid of you, Luca. I'm afraid of living without you. He made a sound that was half laugh, half sob, and pulled me against him so tightly I could barely breathe. You're insane, he muttered into my hair. Absolutely insane. So are you. I know. He pulled back to look at me. But if you're mine, if we're doing this, you have to promise me something. What? You stay alive. His voice was fierce. No more running into danger. No more putting yourself at risk. You stay safe. Or I'll... You'll what? I'll lose my goddamn mind. He kissed me, desperate and claiming. I wasn't alive until I met you, Isabella. Don't make me go back to that. I kissed him back, tasting his fear and his love and his absolute refusal to let me go. Then you have to promise too, I whispered against his lips. Promise you'll come home to me. Always. Always, he swore. For as long as you'll have me. That might be a very long time. Good. He kissed me again, slower this time. Because forever with you still won't be long enough. Epilogue. 3 months later, I stood in Luca's office, our office now, since he'd insisted I take the space beside his, and looked out at the city. So much had changed. My mother was thriving in her new facility, getting stronger every day. My apartment in the bad neighborhood was a distant memory, replaced by a space in Luca's penthouse that felt like home. And Luca, what are you thinking about? His arms wrapped around me from behind, and I leaned back against his chest. How different everything is. Better different or worse different? I turned in his arms to face him. Definitely better. He smiled. That rare, genuine smile he saved only for me. Good, because I have something for you. Luca, you've already given me too much. It's not like that. He pulled a key from his pocket. This is for the new youth center, the one we're opening next month in your old neighborhood. I stared at the key, then at him. What? You said you wanted to help, that you understood what it was like to struggle. He pressed the key into my palm. So help. Run the center. Make sure other kids don't have to go through what you did. Tears burned my eyes. You did this for me? I'd do anything for you. He pulled me close. Haven't you figured that out yet? I kissed him, pouring 3 months of love and trust and gratitude into it. When we broke apart, both smiling, he rested his forehead against mine. Still think I'm off limits? I teased. You were never off limits. His hands tightened on my waist. You were always mine. I just needed you to cry in my office to finally admit it. Best worst day of my life. Mine too. He kissed me again, slow and deep. Mine too, Isabella. And as we stood there in his office, wrapped in each other, I realized something. Sometimes the most dangerous men have the softest hearts. Sometimes the coldest exteriors hide the warmest souls. And sometimes, breaking the rules is the only way to find exactly what you need. Luca said I was off limits. But the moment he found me crying in his office, the moment he knelt in front of me and let his armor crack, we both knew the truth. I was never off limits. I was always his, and he was always mine.